To everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Jesse from Toronto Jobs. I'm one of the event coordinators at the company here. So Francisco, again, thank you for joining us at the event, and you've spoken at a few of our previous events before. It's always great having you. So for everyone in the chat, then a little bit of background on Francisco. Francisco Remolino is a licensed insolvency trustee. He's got over 15 years of experience finding solutions for clients in financial crisis. And along with his proven track record of success in helping individuals and businesses handle proposals and bankruptcies, he brings a unique perspective and a humanistic approach to his business. So in addition to running his practice, which is Francisco Remolino Associates, he's also a sought-after financial management authority who speaks for organizations and conducts workshops on topics such as money and risk management, financial forecasts, and debt assessments to both debtors and creditors. So Francisco, I'll let you take it away from here. And like I said, one of my coworkers will come on at the end to outro you. Okay?
Perfect.
Right,
well, thank you so much, Jesse, and thank you for that the generous introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today. It's really my pleasure to be part of this conference, especially with this topic that we have chosen to share with you. It's called Leadership in Time of Financial Crisis, How to Support Your Employees. And I'm going to share my screen right now. We only have really 30 minutes. So I'm trying to give you as much information as possible. We will have a portion of time for our questions at the end. But you also have my contact information. If you want to contact me directly after the presentation, you're more than welcome to do so. So when it comes to the topic, leadership in time of financial crisis, I think what I wanted to really do is to have a little bit of a different approach to this, and the reason for that is because we have covered from the perspective of leadership around how we can support employees, how we can support the people around us. However, I think it's also very important to be prepared to do so. So the focus of this chat will be on a couple of things. One, how to support your employees, but that will be more so from the leadership perspective, from the leader perspective. And the second part is, as part of what I do, we're gonna briefly discuss insolvency as a tool to solve personal debts. And again, this is on the topic of being able to provide your employees with options about how they can deal and manage their own finances. This is just a required disclaimer to ensure that this is you understand this is not legal advice. A portion of this is more for me sharing my personal lived experiences in terms of leadership, in terms of running my own business. The part of insolvency is really what I do. However, again, the particulars of every situation are so different. So I will suggest that if you have a particular questions about a specific situation, you can email me directly at the end of the presentation. And by starting with the how to support your employees, I think it's very fair to acknowledge that the call to lead during this time is more demanding than ever. So leadership has really been tested for the last year when it comes to how we can be and make a difference on how to support our employees, how we can lead a group, how we can lead a business, how we can lead an entity. So I think it's very fair to say that even though some people choose to be leaders, others are there for whatever circumstances on their life. Not everybody has the ability to lead, and that is just a skill that is developed and a skill that requires not only the mindset of being able to lead a company through the good times, but also through the bad times, but more so to have the broad mindset to understand all the parts of a business, how leadership really requires more than just the personal approach. It requires that we all acknowledge the surroundings, we all acknowledge who is part of our team and how that one team requires to be supported. So I think it's important that from our own position of leadership, we understand the privilege that it is, but also the limitations we have in terms of what is required from that position during these times. I think it's also fair to say that during the last year, we have seen a drastic shift on how we used to do businesses, how we used to relate in terms of our work environment, but also how we used to lead. Because having your own business, having your own company, and having a team that looks up to you for guidance and for direction now requires more so that you really understand who your people are. So the three images that you can see in front of you are just an example of the realities that we all are living throughout these days. And I think what is important is understanding that for the last 20 years, technology has played a very important part on how business are made. I think it's also it had also created this assumption that we all have to be at one place in order for a business to be successful, for a business to work. That has already been reevaluated and redefined. Since last year, without any warning, we all were forced to work from home, which brings a whole new set of possibilities, a whole new set of challenges, and a whole new set of our new possibilities, as I mentioned before, to look into opportunities. That's the word I was looking for. Opportunities to see how else or what else we can do differently in order to ensure the business keeps operating, and more so that we still lead through the challenges that everybody and individually they all facing. And on that topic, I think what I would like to do is to offer three strategies that will certainly help you to lead. And again, this is more from the perspective of the leader. So you as a leader of a company, as a leader of a group, as a leader of a large or a small team, or as a leader of your own practice, I think it does apply to somebody that is expected to perform at a certain level in terms of work, but I think also even at home. I mean, when you have to be the leader of your own family, I think it's important that you have and you're prepared for that. And how we prepare ourselves for leadership, that is almost like a journey that has been accelerated in the last year when we're facing all the challenges, all the new challenges that we hadn't faced before. So I'm suggesting three different strategies: listening, prioritizing, and self-caring. So when we talk about listening, I think studies have shown that to listen is one of the hardest skills to develop, because it requires not only the physical act of remaining quiet, but also it requires the intellectual action of paying attention to what the other person or group of people are telling us. So I think during these times where there's a lot of noise around us in many different ways, we really are obligated to stop and listen. What is demanded from us? What is a particular situation? What is an individual is demanding from, is actually telling us? Because it's only when we do have that ability to listen and to properly understand the needs of others is that we are able to respond appropriately. So my recommendation, my suggestion, I guess the share I want to have with you today is that one of the exercises that I have applied in the last 12 months have been to very purposefully have conversations, but those conversations that I'm listening to exactly what the other individual is telling me, more so when it comes to insolvency. As you may imagine, dealing with individual debts, dealing with the business debts is tasks that requires that you really look beyond the surface. And so listening is actually a very, very, very important element when it comes to really understanding somebody's business situation, but also how you can apply or suggest a solution moving forward. The second strategy that I'm suggesting is prioritizing. And this part of prioritizing, I think, has two different perspectives. The first one is, I think the most immediate one is how we can prioritize our the financial growth of a business versus the support that we give to our employees. And again, the priority is we still have to run a business. We still have to make sure the business is active and is profitable and is sustainable. But at the same time, when you have business, when you're running a company, when you're running a group of people that depends on you, it is also important to understand that that responsibility comes with the impact, the larger impact that you will have in their lives. So how you then prioritize both the financial growth versus helping your clients when they really need you. And the second part of prioritizing that I wanted to emphasize is your own priorities as to you yourself are going through the challenges like everybody else. The having to deal with a pandemic, having to deal with the work instability, having to deal with the new ways of interacting and working and finding new businesses. So understanding those priorities will certainly help to be more aware, to understand your biases and to understand your limitations. And therefore, I think that will help you to be more conscious, more present on the decisions that are delivered, certainly because they will represent really where you are at in terms of your own journey, but also understanding that others are also depending on that. And the last part is self-caring. And I think we have all heard for the last 12 months a lot about self-caring. But what that really even means is our own ability to recognize that we are vulnerable as anybody else, and that we have our own limitations. And as I mentioned before, but also that it's important to step back at some point, to take breaks, to be very conscious of where we are at. I think part of the daily activities that we're going through right now, since our social life has changed, our work environment has changed, and it's really more demanded of us to be compassionate and understanding, and that all comes with some with a level of empathy exhaustion. So yes, you as a leader are required to listen, are required to prioritize, you are required to support. But I think that doesn't eliminate the fact that you at some point may face some empathy exhaustion. So how to avoid that is basically by taking care of yourself, acknowledging yourself, and making sure that you take the time, the breaks that you need in order to recharge and come back. So I think recognizing those personal biases and limitations will certainly help to acknowledge also the kind of care that you need. And also, on that same note, I think it's important to acknowledge that one of the primary benefits I have myself experienced during the pandemic is that ability to be able to acknowledge those limitations and to acknowledge that I need to take a break, and that is okay. So taking a break is fine. The world is not going to collapse. So I really hope that going forward, I can also keep using that mindset to take care of myself, and also be able to recharge again and come back, and hopefully that will give me a different perspective on how I lead or I support others. So moving from this one topic, just because we are almost halfway from our discussion, as you may know, I think it was introduced, it was also mentioned by Jesse at the beginning, I am an insolvency trustee, so I think it's important that understanding how insolvencies are so not necessarily popular, but the concept in itself is being broadly discussed about how there's an expectation that insolvencies in the country are going to go to the roof once the pandemic is over. I think it's beneficial for you to understand how that may be a tool to help your employees, to help the people around you, to take care of the debts and to move forward financially. So in terms of insolvency, there are basically two options that I can help individuals with. One of them is proposals. Proposals are settlements that are presented to the creditors on the individual side to unsecured creditors, and the idea is to offer a payment to repay a portion of the debt. So this agreement is discussed within the first 45 days of the filing of the agreement. The creditors have the ability to vote for or against. At the end of the 45 days, what is required is 50 plus 1% of the votes for the proposal to be approved. But part of the requirements that the creditors are really looking into when approving the proposal is that it must be beneficial to the creditors, and also it must be feasible for the debtor to ensure the payment is made. But once approved, that is the agreement that has to be paid. So there are great benefits on being able to make a proposal, because it reduces the debt. Normally, and it depends on different factors, but for generally speaking, proposals can be done to pay between 20 to 50% of the total debt. So the reduction is really drastic. The payments are fixed. There's no interest added to it. And even though the agreements are to be made for 5 years or up to 5 years, they can be paid sooner once approved. So I think it's also a great benefit. Yes, as part of an insolvency option, proposal would affect an individual's credit rating. And what that really means, and exactly which way, is the credit rating that goes from R1 to R9. It will go to an R7 during the time of the proposal, plus 3 years after the end of the proposal. So there is certainly a time in which the credit rating will be affected. And what it really means is that this individual will not be able to have any unsecured debts during the time of the proposal and for the 3 years after that. From my perspective, I think it is, number one of the fastest way to recover credit when somebody has already when it's already affected by unpaid debts or But I also feel that there is an opportunity to reestablish credit and to somewhat relearn how to manage finances with an ability to save and to find other ways to reestablish credit other than just unsecured debts. And the second option, which is probably more well-known but less popular, is bankruptcy. Personal bankruptcy is the legal declaration of an individual's inability to repay creditors. It's a legal process, as well as the consumer proposal or proposals. And basically, with filing the bankruptcy, an individual is telling his creditors, his or her creditors, that they don't have any money to pay. However, and I think this is one of these misconceptions that there are around bankruptcy, that if you file for bankruptcy, you don't have to pay anything. And it's not true, because the bankruptcy fees, or the fees that are required for an individual to pay to file for bankruptcy, are based on income per household. So there is a chart that has been established by the superintendent of bankruptcy, and they set up the amount the individual is allowed to keep based on the number of people in the household. It goes from whatever the number is, but let's say from 1 to 7, and it allocates an amount that, according to them, and I believe those numbers are set up in the level of poverty in the country. But right now, just for information, for one individual, the standard is at $2,243. And that is to say that if an individual files for bankruptcy and his or her monthly net income is more than $2,243, this person will be required to pay 50% of that surplus, the amount above that, to the bankruptcy estate, meaning they will be required to make payments. So not only that, the bankruptcy process in itself, so the length of the process, is determined based also on the payments that are required. The standard bankruptcy, for a first-time bankruptcy, the length is only 9 months. But if there are payments required based on income, it may be extended to 21 months. So it's either 9 months or 21 months. For a second-time bankruptcy, we'll be looking at either 24 months or 36 months. All these changes really became more relevant in 2009, when there was a change in the legislation in insolvency, and part of this push is to not only discourage individuals to file for bankruptcy, but do more proposals to the creditors. And sometimes it makes sense, because the reality in the bankruptcy scenario is, and that's how the process is being set up, the more money an individual makes, the more money they will have to pay to the creditors or to the bankruptcy estate. Whereas, as you may remember discussing the proposal, once the proposal is approved by the creditors, the payment that has been proposed, it remains fixed, and so that will not change. So with this in mind, I think we have come to an end. I just wanted to give some time for questions. If anybody's has some questions at all, my contact information is right here. If you have a specific question that you would like to share, or some specific information you would like to get from me in terms of insolvency, please feel free to email me to reach out. But for now, I think I'm just gonna get back to if we have any questions that we want to go over.
Hi, Francisco.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Good, good. How are you?
I am good. Thank you.
It's my second time hearing that, and I still learn every time
Yeah, you are.
I listen. So, how are things?
Things are good.
Good.
Things are
Good.
yeah.
Good. I know it's a lot of.
The weather is getting better, which is great.
Pardon?
The weather is getting better.
I know. Yesterday was really nice, so that was great.
Yeah,
so can I put your contact information in here just in case people want to reach out? I know sometimes it can be personal, so maybe people.
Sure.
Okay.
Let me actually share my. Do you want to see my screen again so I can?
Sure, because when I type it in, people can actually click on your information directly. So I was just going to type it in.
That totally makes sense. Yeah, let me just do this.
So what you you've been in, how long have you had a business for?
I opened my practice on April 2019.
Oh wow, so that's amazing.
It's pretty new. Yes, it's pretty new.
And how's it been going so far for all of us entrepreneurs, which I'm sure are curious? It's in its infancy stages, so
it is. It's so you know, I think and I listen. I'm not going to minimize the parents, the people that have kids and all this, but I feel that when we have a business, it's like having a baby, right? It's that you wanted to do better, and it's in your mind 24/7. So I think it comes with a lot of ups and downs, but overall, it's a great experience. It has been an interesting time to have a business, especially a new business now. Definitely. During COVID, because then the growth period that you would normally have for the first 2 years is probably now extended to 3 or more,
right?
Depending on how fast we get out of this. But also, I also think is the challenges that we have faced are also great to maybe do business in a different way, and that's why I wanted to really touch today on the priorities around leading, because yes. When you have your business, you know, you have this responsibility to yourself and the people around you, but in the big picture, there's also a social impact to that.
That's right. You got to take care of yourself first, or else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you do that? What do you do for fun? Well, I guess it's hard right now.
So normally pre-COVID, let's say, I was doing a lot of biking, and I used to do a bike rally from Toronto to Montreal.
Oh wow, that's amazing!
It's a lot of fun. So now I was doing a lot of cycling last year, but then I started running, which is good. It's just another way to trying to stay physically active. Yeah, there's really not that many options that we can do right now.
I used to have a bike too, and I just sold it. Actually, I didn't go out as much as I should. My aunt had a big accident too, which kind of scared me a little bit. So
no, sorry to hear.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. But thank you so much. Thanks for being here. I put your contact information so people can reach out to you directly if they need to, or if, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are in need of your services or your advice right now. That's for sure. So thanks for being here. And it's okay if we share your recording with our network. Is that okay?
For sure. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thanks for being here.
Keep in touch. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.